If you're sick and tired of being broke, busted, and half disgusted, Monday and Tuesday can't be trusted. If you're tired of having more month at the end of the money than money at the end of the month. If you're sick and tired of trying to figure out, should I pay my electric bill this month or my water bill this month? And you're ready for a totally different experience of life. Maybe you're like I was back before I figured out what I'm about to show you today. Maybe every time you took a vacation, it was driving for 2 days in the car with the kids to go see the in-laws, and then staying there for 10 days, and then driving 2 days back because you didn't have enough money to take a real vacation. Love the in-laws. That's not the point. The point is, we never had a chance to go see the world when I was living in poverty. And I am here to talk to you today about weapons of mass production. The triple threat wealth secrets that will destroy the enemy of poverty. Now you're probably wondering, man, why do you say poverty is an enemy? Because I believe that poverty is always the result of spiritual warfare. You say, I don't believe in spiritual warfare. It doesn't matter. You don't have to believe in it for it to exist. Somebody could say, I don't believe in oxygen. That doesn't mean they're going to die, right? It still serves you, though you don't believe in it. And this fact, and when it comes to the subject of poverty, it still detracts from your life whether you believe in spiritual warfare or not. And I'm here to tell you that, I'm blown away. John chapter 10 says this. It says, the thief cometh not, but for to steal, kill, and destroy. That does not mean he's coming to kill, steal, and destroy. That's not what it means. It means he's not coming unless he can steal, kill, and destroy. So what are the weapons he's using? He's using weapons of mass destruction on your life right now if you're living in poverty. But you can use weapons of mass production to destroy the weapons of mass destruction that the enemy has been deploying on your life that have been causing you to live in the land of lack for your entire existence. Like, lack is not part of God's plan for your life unless you're some very unique circumstance. Because that's not God's original design. God the ideal environment for man is a garden. It was called the Garden of Eden. The word garden means enclosure. It was a walled place. It was an enclosure. It had walls around it. It was a place of protection. But not only was it a place of protection, it was also a place of provision. God said, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. No, this is not a Bible study, but my life, like everything in life, like all truth lines up with Scripture. And so, like, I discovered this stuff in Scripture, and I might as well tell you where I got it from so you don't think you need me. I'm not essential to the equation, but the truth is. And so it's the protected place of provision. But not only that, there are only two people in the Garden of Eden. They're married to each other. There's no stores. There's nothing for sale. There's nothing to buy. And yet God put gold there and made sure he told us that he put it there. And the gold in that land of good, there's gold in that land, and the gold of that land is good. That's the first time gold is mentioned in the Bible. So God put Adam and Eve in a protected place of provision and prosperity. And pleasure, because the word Eden means pleasure. Isn't that fascinating to you? That's fascinating to me. So I know now God's ideal environment for man. It's a place that's protected. And when I say man, I'm talking about men and women. It's a protected place. It's a place of provision. It's a place of prosperity. It's a place of purpose. Like, that's God's ideal environment for man. And so if you're not living that, the problem is not God, and the problem is not even you. The problem is that the enemy has waged war on you by coming to steal, kill, and destroy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use weapons of mass production to overcome that. I was born the second of 7 brothers to hardworking parents who never really made any significant money. My parents were very hardworking, but we were poor. I didn't know we were poor, but I know now we were poor, right? I never saw my parents buy a new car. We never moved into a brand new house, ever. Not one time in my whole life growing up did I ever live in a new house. We lived in some okay houses, but usually they were three bedrooms. Sometimes they were 5 bedrooms. There were 9 people in our house, and we had bunches of cousins that came to live with us, and we had like relatives, my mom's brothers sometimes come live, my dad's brother, like people always came to live with us, even though we had the biggest family in the family. It's kind of like, what's up? And so, and I was born in a segregated hospital, contracted polio before I was a year old. I couldn't lift heavy things and carry them long distances, so I had to figure out a different way to make money. And when I first got married, we were struggling for a long time. In fact, it was so desperately difficult that at one point when my wife was 8 months pregnant with our first child, our water and our electricity were both disconnected at the same time. So I know what it's like to struggle financially. In fact, I've been so intimately familiar with struggling financially that I learned to hate it. And I learned to realize that it is an enemy that must be fought, and it is an enemy that must be destroyed. And I'm going to show you some weapons of mass production right now, because you have the ability to produce faster, more, bigger, and better than the enemy has the ability to destroy. How do I know that? Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. We are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Do you understand that I'm not just supposed to win spiritually while I'm on earth? I'm supposed to win spiritually, but I'm supposed to win spiritually. I'm supposed to win physically. I'm supposed to win monetarily. I'm supposed to win relationally. My life is on all I do is win, win, win. And so I've got to produce, I've got to use my weapons of mass production to produce so much abundance that the enemy can't steal it all. But I've got to be aware of the fact that I have an enemy. And so if the enemy's going to steal it from me, he's first going to steal it from me in my perception. So my first weapon of mass production is, and I know y'all are tired of hearing it, but it is true, it is mindset. But what is a mindset? Like we talk about a mindset. So when you say set something, we're adjusting it to a place of stability. Like I was hot from the last video that I just recorded. And so guess what? I got overheated. So I went over to the thermostat and I made it cooler in here, right? I set the thermostat at a lower temperature. And see, your mind is already set to believe some things. And whatever you believe is going to determine, your beliefs are going to determine what you expect. And expectation is your greatest superpower. Expectation is a part of the mindset that can destroy the enemy that's using a weapon of mass destruction on your wealth. How? Well, expectation is your greatest superpower. In fact, I'm going to make an assertion. If you are an adult who's responsible for your own life, don't hate me when I say this now. If you're an adult who's responsible for your own life, lack cannot exist in your experience unless it first exists in your expectation. Did I say that too fast? Lack cannot exist in your experience unless it first exists in your expectation. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you will have an opportunity to make your life better. You will weigh the risks, and instead of managing the risks, you will avoid them. And when you avoid the risk, you avoid the reward. But when you manage the risk, then you can eventually learn to multiply the reward. So, expectation is your greatest superpower. Did you ever think about the fact that focus on lack was the very first temptation in the history of the world? The very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack. So if the very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack, then the one thing that I can't afford to focus on is lack. Now, it doesn't mean that lack's not there. Lack is always there. Lack is always there. But if lack is there, abundance must also always be there. Why? Because if something's missing, the exact equal opposite must be present. So if there's an abundance of lack in your life, there's the availability for the abundance of abundance in your life. But which one do you get? You get the one you're focused on. What do I mean? Okay, the Garden of Eden, gardens and enclosure. I got to do this really fast. Garden's an enclosure. God said, of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat, right? So you got all these trees. Of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. Every tree, freely eat. Everybody say it. Every tree, freely eat. Every tree, freely eat. That's 2 trees in 1. Okay. Every tree, freely eat. So they got all these trees. They got plum trees and pear trees and apple. But in the middle of the garden, there was the tree of life. And also in the middle of the garden, there was a tree of knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam and Eve, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree that's in the midst of the garden, thou shalt not eat of it, for the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. God said, of every tree, freely eat. Every and freely. Let me ask you something about every and freely. Lack words or abundance words? Abundance. But of the tree, how many is the? 1. But of the tree, that's in the midst of the garden, thou shalt not eat of it, for the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So they had the abundance of everything, and they only lacked one thing. Abundance and lack were both available in the Garden of Eden. But the scripture says the serpent was more subtle than the beasts of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Do you understand, until Satan started talking to Eve, she wasn't thinking about this tree. She was thinking about the every freely. But the serpent comes and said, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So he added the word not, and he took out the word freely. Does that change the meaning? The woman said, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. She took out the word every and the word freely. Does that change the meaning? So now there's no more lack, there's no more abundance to focus on. There's just trees. And I submit to you that one of our biggest problems is losing awareness of the abundance that's all around us and thinking it's just this or it's only that. And so we minimize the abundance and then hone in on the thing we lack. And so when Satan got Eve's attention off of all of the abundance she had, Adam and Eve had to walk past all of this abundance and ignore all of this abundance to get to the only thing they lacked. So the very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack. Maybe this is one of the things the Apostle Paul meant in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, where he said, I fear lest by any means that as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that's in Christ. So your what? Your minds. What happened? He got her mind set off of the abundance and got her mind set on the thing she lacked. Now, the abundance and the lack are always both there. But you get the one you focus on. Do you understand it's impossible for lack to be there? Like, I don't have any money. Great. Then you have a great opportunity to make money. Why? Where sin did abound, grace did much more abound. Abundance is always greater than lack, even when it doesn't feel like it. So here's what happens. When you focus on lack, you perpetuate lack. When you focus on abundance, you perpetuate abundance. So you definitely need a new mindset. You need a mind that's set on focusing on the abundance that's there. No, I'm talking about people who have a negative bank account right now, and you're listening to me. You're so focused in and honed in on the fact there's no money in your bank account, or very little, or less than none, that you can't see all the abundance that's around you. And it's there. It's there in as great abundance as the lack is there in great abundance. How do I know that? Because God wove the principle of the law of polarity into the fabric of the universe, and it's not going to stop existing just because you got here. Say law of polarity, what's that? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Have you ever eaten a one-sided piece of bread? Talk to me, people. No. Have you ever written on a one-sided piece of paper? Yes or no? No. Oh, no. Okay. Have you ever flipped a one-sided coin? Yes or no? Why not? Because it cannot exist. Not because it doesn't exist. It cannot exist. It's impossible for anything in this sphere, in this realm that we live in, to exist with only one side. And you get the side you focus on. That's what I mean when I say expectation is your greatest superpower. It's almost like God gave us an entire book filled with principles and promises and precepts and practices and prophecies and prayers and prosperity to focus on. But the same God that gave us that ordained that the enemy come and bring us a problem. The enemy don't put the problem over here where you can't see it. He can't put it over here where you can only see it out of your peripheral vision. He doesn't put it up here. He doesn't put it back here. The enemy comes and says, now what you going to do? The enemy blinds you to the abundance that's available so that you only think the only thing that's there is the problem, the lack, the what's missing, the sickness, the disease, the poverty. And he puts it right in front of you. Do you understand that Saul and all of his army had the same opportunity to slay Goliath, but only David had the right perspective? They saw what was missing in them. He's bigger than us. He'll tear us limb from limb. He's like 10 feet tall. He'd pat Shaquille O'Neal on top of his head and say, "What's up, little fella?" He was so big he had 6 toes on each foot and 6 fingers on each hand. This is a big joker. His spearhead weighed 16 pounds. How strong do you have to be to chuck a spear whose head weighs 16 pounds? They were so looking at what Goliath was, he was a weapon, that they didn't even know who they were. They forgot about what they had available to them, and what they had available to them was way more massive than Goliath. Everybody else was focused on how much Saul, all of David's brothers, everybody else in the Israeli army was so focused on how big the giant was compared to them. David, a little shepherd boy, was focused on how big God was compared to how small Goliath was. Both were all there for everybody. Everybody could have taken that opportunity, but only David did. And I am telling you, the difference between where you are and where you could be a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, is wrapped up predominantly in your mindset and perspective. You're so zoned into what's missing that you're missing what's there. Elisha comes out after he had pronounced judgment, I think, on the king of Syria. And the king of Syria sends an army to come confiscate or kill Elisha. Elisha's servant comes out. He comes back in. He says, "Alas, master, what shall we do?" Elisha said, "Oh, don't worry about them. There are more that be with us than they that be with them." Bruh, it's us. It's me and you. I forgot. Elisha had a perception and a perspective that his servant didn't have. Right. And guess what he didn't do? He didn't fuss as a servant. He didn't flex and say, "Well, if you could see what I could see, then you'd know." He didn't get frustrated by his servant's lack of perception. You know what he did? He prayed for him. "Lord, open his eyes so that he can see what I see and you see that's already there." He prayed. God opened his eyes. And guess what? God opened his eyes. And guess what Elisha's servant saw? He saw that the army that had them surrounded was surrounded by an army of angels with flaming swords. And the scripture says the angels with flaming swords smote those other soldiers with blindness. What? And then Elisha and his servant just lead him back to their country and then goes and talks to the king instead of killing him, because he could have killed him, but he didn't. He's like, Let me ask you a question. What is your mindset causing you to focus on? Is it causing you to focus on what's missing that you feel so hopeless that you just go home and binge watch Netflix? That's not going to fix the problem. Is what your focus on what's missing so like all consuming that you feel like you have to go get drunk or go get high? That's not going to fix the problem. Does your focus on what's missing? I'm not saying that what's missing is not missing. It is missing. But I'm telling you, that's not all that's there. Is your focus on what's missing causing you to be frustrated? So frustrated that you're fussing with your spouse and fussing with your children because you're frustrated with your inability to see what's there. Mindset. The mindset is the right, I'm going to go back to mindset. It's the right perception. I can see what's there. It's the right perspective. that every obstacle is an opportunity. And see, I'm going to be optimistic enough to see the opportunity in my obstacle. I'm not going to be so pessimistic that I can only see the obstacle in my opportunity. How many of y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And when you have the right perception and you have the right perspective, then it will give you a level of passion to fulfill your purpose, the likes of which you've never had before. This mindset is weapon numero uno. Weapon of mass production numero uno. You have to have a level of awareness. See, I can because God said I can. I can because other people have. I can because God gave to every man according to his several ability. And I may not have what you have, and you may not have what I have, but bless the Lord, we all have something. But here's the problem. We're scared to go to war against the enemy of poverty because it's held our family in bondage forever. And we, like Gideon, are hiding among the stuff when God says, let's go, you mighty man of valor. Let's go, you mighty woman of valor. And we're like, who, me? Yes, you. Well, it's not just mindset. You've got to learn how to build something, and that is where your skill set comes in. By the way, it's not even a skill set, it's skill sets. Like I need the skill set of writing on this board. Skill sets. Without erasing, without pressing so hard that it erases. Skill sets. What skill sets do I need? Okay, I'm going to give them to you in the order in which I would recommend that you create them. But this is not the order of priority. This is the order of flow. Okay, skill set number one is content creation. Because content is created. Now, what does content creation mean? Content creation means it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, a doctor, a lawyer, a beautician, a makeup artist, it doesn't matter. The best possible customer and client for you is an educated customer or client. You have to be able to educate them on how to solve their problem. And so you have to be willing to create content that they desire to consume, not just content that you desire to create. The biggest problem in content creation is most content creators create the content they care about instead of the content their audience cares about. And the content that you create needs to demonstrate. What's the word I just used? Demonstrate to the people that you created it for that you've obsessed over their problem more than they have for a longer period of time than they have. And you've created a solution that is so elegant and so effective that they can't do anything but say yes to it. Why? Because all of the money that you desire to have. I want you to wrap your mind around this. I don't care if it's $100, $100,000, $100 million, or $100 billion. All the money that you desire to have right now and don't have, it's in somebody else's pocket. Now, you can hit them over the head and take it from them and take a chance on going to jail. Or you can just create something that they desire more than they desire the money they have to pay for it. How many of y'all tracking? Wave at me, my people. And so what we have to do is we have to say, okay, I have to become consumed. I have to become obsessed with solving other people's problems. You know what your biggest problem is? You're obsessed with solving your biggest problem. And I obsess over solving other people's problems. And when I solve other people's problems, they pay me enough money to pay somebody to solve my problem. Right? I'm allergic to cutting grass. That's not the same as being allergic to grass. I'm just allergic to cutting it. So guess what? I solve people's problems that they want solved, and they're willing to pay more than they would be for somebody to cut their grass, and I solve their problems for them, and when I solve their problems, they pay me a lot of money. And sometimes that's to the tune of thousands of dollars an hour. Sometimes it's to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. And that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to you because if you're listening to me, the reason it doesn't make any sense to you is because you've never obsessed over a big enough pool of people's big enough problem who are willing to pay enough money to solve it. A problem that big. Okay, can I give you all an example?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say I know how to create videos that cause people to watch them. And let's say that you take the average, well, not average, but you just take it, an average personal injury attorney, and let's say the average case that they get makes them $60,000. Okay, the average case they win makes them $60,000. So if I can create content for them that helps them attract a client, one client a month, that would be worth at least $6,000 a month. If I can do that for 10 clients, that's $60,000 a month. If I can do that for 100 clients, that's $600,000 a month. But see, some of you know how to make videos. But you make videos nobody cares about. Instead of going and finding somebody who cares about having a video made that a result could be produced that would pay for it, and then selling them that solution. You could make videos that like you don't even have to be a lawyer. You could make videos that generate leads for personal injury lawyers, and then you could sell the leads to those lawyers. And you could charge them $10 a lead, $20 a lead. Who could do that? Well, anybody could, but most people won't. Maybe you serve a cosmetic dentist or a cosmetic surgeon. See, here's what I figured out a long time ago. If you want to get rich quickly, I'm going to define quickly, in your lifetime. If you want to get rich quickly, solve a big problem for somebody who, when you solve that problem, they make a lot of money. See, yes, I could help a pizza shop sell more pizzas. But if I'm charging them $2,000 a month, they got to sell a whole bunch of pizzas in order to pay me. But if I help a cosmetic surgeon get 5 clients a month that pay them on average $8,000 a piece, that's 8,000 times 5 clients, that's $40,000. I can charge them $4,000 a month. If I get 10 clients like that, I'm making $40,000 a month. If I get 100 clients like that, I'm making $400,000 a month. That's how my brain thinks. My brain thinks in big multiples. Like I watch people do stuff in business. I'm like, why are you playing in the small arena? I don't know if you are familiar with a concept called an open system. Okay, so here's how it works. If you have a tree that's growing by a wall, there's a wall on the side of the tree, it will naturally grow away from the wall. If you take a fish that can grow to be this big and you put it in a tank that's this big, it's not going to grow any bigger than its environment will allow. Are y'all tracking? Yeah. And so what happens for most people is they get a skill that's worth millions of dollars and they play in an arena that's worth $30,000 a year. We just have to think differently. Instead of thinking of the people we want to sell stuff to, think from the people we want to sell stuff to. Put yourself in their shoes. That becomes a weapon of mass production, because now I'm not just solving a problem that I want to solve, I'm solving a problem that a big pool of people are willing to pay a big sum of money to have solved. Like this whole wealth creation thing is not hard. When I hire an attorney, my attorney charges like, different attorneys charge different amounts, but like when I hired my estate planning attorney, she's like, okay, it's $13,000 to create your estate plan. And if you want to keep me on retainer, it's X amount of dollars. My business attorney charges X amount. Like if I go to litigate, if I get into litigation with somebody, my prosecuting attorney, because usually I'm in litigation with somebody, they're getting sued by me for doing something they shouldn't have done. I'm not getting sued by them because hopefully by the grace of God, I'm going to keep on doing the stuff I'm supposed to do. Right? But I have to pay them X amount of dollars. So, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the lifestyle that you deserve is on the other side of you creating solutions for other people who desire to be served. Okay, so content creation is first. Why? Because if you create content like you write a book, and it's a good book, you write a good book. What determines whether the book is good? You're solving a problem the market wants solved. You write a book that people want to read, not a book that you want to write. You don't create the course you want to create, you create the course that the marketplace wants to pay for and consume and get results, and then they brag about the results they get to everybody they know. Your solution has to be good. The content that you create, even the content that I create on YouTube, my objective, I will never post a YouTube video or YouTube live that I could not have sold. Now, shorts are just shorts, right? But I'm talking about a long form video. I will never post a long form video and teach anything on long form video on YouTube that I could not have sold for a profit and had people be happy with it. But see, you're scared to do that. Why are you scared? You're scared because, well, if I teach them the stuff that I know that I would have sold, then what am I going to sell them? Your problem, you think your problem is that you're giving away stuff you could have sold, but your real problem is you just don't have enough access, you don't have enough understanding of enough profound information and transformation for your ideal avatar that you can give some of it away and still have plenty to sell. So content creation, that's first, because content is created. But then the next one is audience attraction. So you attract an audience. How do you attract an audience? By declaring and demonstrating that you have the best solution for their problem. Like, why are y'all watching me right now? Why are there however many people are, probably a few hundred people watching right now, maybe 1,000, I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. Why are people watching right now? Why are y'all here right now? You're here because I have attracted you by demonstrating and proving to you that I can help you by actually helping you. Like, I love it. Now, you probably wouldn't love this as much, maybe, but if you could learn to love this, it'll change your life. I love it when people come to me and say, yeah, I watched your YouTube video and it made me $36,000. Great. That's the point. I watched your YouTube video and it made me $60,000. Perfect. That's the point. I was talking to a guy yesterday on the phone. He lives in Australia. His name's Richmond. He's a good friend of mine. And we were at dinner in Idaho. I think it was Idaho. Yeah, Idaho in October. And I did this little illustration with him and showed him this concept. He's like, I don't know why I'm struggling with selling premium value offers. Well, I know why you're struggling. Here's why. And I did this little illustration with him. That night, he went and made an offer and closed his first $100,000 offer ever. The highest offer he'd ever closed before that was $25,000. And inside 2 weeks, he closed another one. And another lady named Phyllis, who was sitting across the table from him, but right beside me, she bought a $100,000 offer from me. She bought a $100,000 offer from me, upgraded to a $350,000 offer. I texted her last night. I said, hey, just touching base with you to see if you're still on track for the $350,000 offer, because if you are, tomorrow's day number 30 and you had 30 days to upgrade. She said, oh yeah, I just made my first $100,000 offer. I need to stay plugged into you. You say, Myron, what do you say? I'm not saying I can help everybody make $100,000, but somebody who actually has the ability to produce a result for their clients, all I do is prove to them that I can help them by actually helping them. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of what Jim Rohn said about Jesus. Jim Rohn said Jesus had the shortest presentation ever, and it was so powerful. What was the short presentation that was so powerful? Follow me. 2 words. People dropped everything. They said, well, you know what? I'm done with this fishing business. Let's go. Where are we going? How could somebody have a presentation that short? And people drop everything. Leave their family just, okay, well, I'm going where he tells me to go. I'm following Jesus. Like, how could his presentation be so short and yet so powerful? Here's what Jim Rohn said. Because of all that he was that he didn't have to talk about. And then he said, too many people try to make up in words what they lack in substance. Word of advice, say less, do more. How many of y'all tracking? So audience attraction, you're going to attract your audience. Oh, this is like in business, this is, in my opinion, the ultimate weapon of mass production. You ready? Yeah, Myron. Brand building. I used to think when people talk about brand building, I'm like, that's so lame. Like literally, I thought, oh, this person's talking about branding because they don't know how to sell. I used to think this person's talking about branding because they don't know how to do marketing. I believe people, like when I learned how to sell, selling was my skill. So I heard people talk about marketing. I'm like, yeah, but marketing doesn't do you any good if you can't close the sale. So I thought people talked about marketing because they didn't know how to sell. Then I learned how to do marketing. I'm like, oh, marketing makes sales superfluous. What does that mean? Like marketing literally, if your marketing is great, it makes your sales effortless. Oh. Then I heard people talk about branding. Come on, bro. Branding, really? Branding? Come on, bro. And then I accidentally started building a brand. Like, heaven help us all the time. Building a brand? I've never done, I've never done anything in my life that has impacted my business more than building a brand. And I stumbled upon it. It wasn't like I set out because I'm a genius and I'm going to go build a brand today. I didn't do that. I wasn't smart enough to do that, y'all. I accidentally stumbled upon building a brand. And you know what happened? When I started, my business went like literally in less than a year, business went from $2 million a year to $6 million a year. And then another year went from 6 million to 18 million. Like, what? What is that? Selling is a weapon of mass production. You have to get good at sales. Selling is not convincing. Selling is persuading. Persuading is the opposite of convincing. What does that mean? Persuading is the opposite of convincing. Convincing is what people who are not good at sales resort to because they're not good at sales. Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. That's what convincing is. Like, I didn't do a good job selling, so now I'm going to talk you into buying. Do you understand when you're actually selling, when you're actually persuading, you're not talking people into buying. You're just creating an environment that makes them feel like buying. Then you can't even talk them out of it. Right? Selling is uncovering the value of what I have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. But your problem is you haven't revealed value, so now you have to resort to convincing. You have to lower the price because you haven't revealed value. Say, Myron, how comes you sell your offers for so much? Not that much to me. Guess it depends on who you ask. But the reason I sell my offers for so much is the heart follows the pocketbook. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And you sell like you buy. And if you buy like you're broke, you'll sell like everybody else is broke. One of the best things I ever do for my clients is charge them a lot of money to work with me. Why? Because people who are unwilling to pay will be unable to charge. It's a rite of passage. I never even thought of that with this before. I had $1 million offer for years. I've had $1 million offer since 2015. Sold the first one in 2019. Sold 3 last year. Guess what happened year before last? Guess. I bought $1 million offer. Oh. I knew exactly what it felt like to buy $1 million offer. You say, Myron, what are you saying? I'm saying selling is uncovering the value of what you have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money you have in your pocket, they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. What's marketing? Marketing is the art and science of discovering and developing in other people, oh, did I mention this? In other people, a desire for more and more of your product or service or your opportunity. So marketing has more to do with me discovering your desire for a specific outcome than it does letting you know what my desire is for my specific outcome. But what is branding? What is a brand? A brand is a name that reminds you of a story. So when you build a brand, you're building your name or you're building your reputation so that when people think of your name, they only conjure up good thoughts. So I for a long time, I've loved Mercedes. I've had a lot of them. I'm so frustrated with Mercedes-Benz right now. And I'm sure that it's still a great car company, but I am so sick of what they call customer service that is customer disservice. I'm sick of it. Like, y'all went from being the car that I want, my daily driver, from being the car that I want as my daily driver, to being like, I don't want to think about, I don't want to see that little star. I don't want to hear the word Mercedes. I'm like so over it. I put my car in the shop because it had a computer problem. It was in the shop for a month, which is not terrible. It happens sometimes. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. They finally got it figured out. But here's what I hate. I hate calling a company that I bought a car that sells for over $200,000. I bought this car, and I call, and I get in a circular recorded phone message. Then when I push all the buttons they tell me to push, it starts me back over at the beginning. I'm ready to like, y'all thought I wanted to be on the phone for 15 minutes to just ask if my car's done? Okay, pump the brakes, Myron. So I get the car out of the shop. I'm driving it for 2 days, and the brakes start grinding. But the brake light never came on. So now I put it back in the shop, and now it needs a $10,000 brake job. Okay, cool. Not cool, but cool. I knew it was a Mercedes when I bought it, right? I put it back in the shop, I go to pick it up, and now the dash is separated, and now I gotta take it back the same day. In fact, I couldn't even keep it. And then I come out to my other car, which is also a Mercedes that I drive my golf stuff around in, and that dash is separated. I'm like, ah. Then I finally picked up the car that had the brake problem and the other problem and the other problem, and now I finally picked it up, and now it's saying, it's time for your B service. Well, if it's time for my B service, now I just picked it up 2 days ago, it was time for my B service when it was there. Why didn't y'all just call me and say, hey, do you want us to do the B service? That light didn't just start coming on when I picked up the car. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, I'm tired of the hassle, and now I gotta call them and get on this 5-minute to 10-minute, like infinite phone recording, passing me around, pushing buttons. So now I work for you. And you're wasting my time. Now, I'm telling you that to contrast with Rolls-Royce. Because here's what Rolls-Royce does. I deal with the Rolls-Royce in Orlando because the one in Tampa or in St. Pete is terrible. It's my opinion. They're terrible. And if you don't want me to say you're terrible in front of everybody, don't be terrible. Okay. So I call the Rolls-Royce dealership in Orlando and I say, hey, my car has a cracked windshield. Can you guys come pick it up and take it? They come in a covered tow truck, pick up my car, put it on the tow truck, walk around it with a video to document the shape the car is in before they leave, take the car, fix the windshield, bring it back in a covered truck. I don't even have to go to the dealership. All I gotta do, the guy comes to pick up my car, I give him the keys. That's customer service. But wait, there's more. They bring my car back. There's a smudge on the driver's seat, and there's a cut in the driver's seat. This is a little cut. I mean, little, like fingernail, like clip your fingernail size cut. But wait, what's this mark on my seat? Oh, that's not a mark, that's a cut. Guess what the guy says? Oh, let me take out the video and see what it looked like when I picked it up. Takes it out. Oh, yep, you're right, that wasn't there. They take it back, they fix the car seat. When I get ready for when it's done and it's done, they'll bring my car back to me. Like, I'm not inconvenienced at all. You say, what is that? That is the kind of customer service that will keep me in a Rolls Royce for the rest of my life. See, everything you do, everything you say, every experience you give your customers, every experience you give your clients, every experience you give your prospects says to them, I want to keep doing business with this person, or you know what? I'm a little tired of the hassle. You build a brand by doing what you said you're going to do expeditiously and better than they expected you to do it. If you're not like, it's okay for your reputation to precede you. It's not okay for your reputation to exceed you. The experience of you needs to be better than the reputation that they heard about you. It needs to be like when the Queen of Sheba came to see King Solomon, and she said, I heard about you when I was in my own country. Howbeit, I didn't believe until now I've come and mine own eyes have seen. And behold, the half has not been told. Thy wealth and thy prosperity exceedeth what I heard when I was in my own country. When somebody experiences you, is the experience of you better than the expectation of you? And if it's not, you are building a negative brand because everybody is building a brand. Some people are building a brand intentionally that will cause people to break down the door. Like, if I could just get in that person's program, if I could just read that person's book, if I could just get in that person's presence. Brand building is a weapon of mass production. Okay, what's the mass production that comes from building a brand? I don't know yet. Here's what happens when you build a brand. Prospects come to you. Clients come to you. Brand partners come to you. Opportunities come to you. Why? Because you've developed a reputation, a name, a brand that people are willing to pay to see themselves in. Does being associated with you elevate the status of the people who come in contact with you and buy from you? Or does it lower the status of people who do business with you? Does your name make other names more valuable? Does it do nothing, or does it make other names less valuable? There are names that make other names less valuable. There are names that don't do anything. Like, they hear the name, it's like, I don't know what that is. But there are names like when you hear it, like, oh, it's that? Okay, well then, oh, that's why it's that, because it's that name. That's why those shoes cost $400, because they're Gucci. That's why that belt costs $800, because it's Louis Vuitton. Right. They've figured out how to build so much value and quality into their name that people are willing to pay, quote, ridiculous amounts of money to attach their name to my name. I'm telling you, if you will do this, it'll change your life. But here's what's not going to happen. You're not going to build a brand by hiding in the booth in the back in the corner in the dark. I don't like social media. It doesn't matter. I used to say it to my kids. I didn't say I don't like it. I used to say to my son and my daughter, I don't understand. Why do I need to post something on Instagram? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. They would always say the same thing. It doesn't matter if you understand it or not. The people who are looking for you understand it. I don't like being on social media. It's okay. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. The people who are looking for you like it. So put your face on some social media if you have a business. I'm telling you, if you will do these things, and you'll show up as the best version of yourself and keep your word in the marketplace, you will build a weapon of mass production that makes Satan's weapon of mass destruction, that wants to lock you in poverty forever. It'll make that weapon null and void. I hope this video blesses you. Stay blessed by the best, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. All right, I've got a coaching call that happens in 5 minutes. Grab a